Hey everyone, Mr. E here, and today I want to showcase just how good a boy our little friend here is. He has a ton of different use cases in the game. There's a lot of talents that interact with his power directly and can make him do different things, and I'm also going to show you a good number of tricks into how you can control him and make him play optimally in lots of different situations. I am firmly in Camp Dog. I think that having a dog is probably the coolest thing about the class, and I would never, I mean I would sometimes, but I would vastly prefer to have the dog over the talent where it doesn't bring you the dog. So if you're a dog lover and you're excited to play with this little pupper, let's get into exactly what the Cyberhound can do. And since we're talking about dogs today, I have to mention my perfect dog, Bernie. He is available if you want to see tons of pictures of this guy. Go check out the community posts, and you can get even more pictures of him if you become a member to the channel. If you want to support him for free, you can subscribe to the channel and also like the video. Everything you guys do helps me to keep bones in his mouth. And of course, there's Randy Pitchford. I really appreciate you guys, and let's get on with the video. So here we are in the talent tree. This is where we'll find a lot of the abilities that can make the dog what he is. And we'll start here and move on to techniques you can use to get the dog to give you just that little bit of edge in the battle. But firstly, we've got our little talent here at the top, Razor Jaw Augment. This makes enemies knocked away by your Cyber-Mastiff's pounce have 8 stacks of bleed applied to them. So what this means is every time you have several enemies that are grouped up near each other, if you make the dog pounce a target, or the dog chooses to pounce a target, and you have this augment, of course, it's going to make nearby enemies get knocked away and have bleed stacks applied to them. So you can see there that the bleed stacks, honestly, it's not bad damage, but it's nothing really all that crazy. This is a better thing for clearing hordes than really anything else because bleed damage falls off very, very quickly. Now, if he's pouncing a lot of targets in quick succession, this can end up being quite potent. As you can see here, I can have them pounce and keep those bleed stacks up, which can, as you see there, deal with a group of horde. But it's not like the be-all end-all of single target damage for the dog. Although it is pretty nice, and if you're going for a dog-focused build, you'll probably want it. Let's move on to our second talent for the dog, which is very, very powerful, Man and Cyber-Mastiff. Man and Cyber-Mastiff allows you to replenish 5% of your toughness per second while you're within 8 meters of your Cyber-Mastiff. So let's let this enemy hit me here. And you can see there, look at that constant regenerative effect on my health bar down there. That is all the dog's doing. That is all 5% per second from just hanging out near the dog. And that is a very, very powerful regenerative effect on par with the veteran's ability to regenerate toughness when he hasn't taken a melee attack in the last 8 seconds. But this is constant. You can see I can be actively getting beaten on by enemies, and the dog is still providing me that Halo Overshield recharge, which is one of my favorite talents in the whole tree. Down here we have our dog related to blitz, and this is called remote detonation. When you activate remote detonation, it makes the Cyber-Mastiff kind of explode, or unleash an EMP blast, I think maybe is a more appropriate way to talk about it. This does a small-ish amount of damage to enemies and also knocks them back, and it's a really, really powerful knockback. As you can see here with this chaos spawn, if I activate it, it knocks him back a long way, and you get 3 of these charges with a 60-second cooldown to regain them. Now, it's not the strongest ability in the world because it doesn't really do all that much damage. As you saw, it didn't even kill this this shotgunner here with the blast, but it is very potent in terms of that knockback and disrupting enemies, and it's free, obviously. It just has a cooldown. The problem that I have with it is it's very hard in the thick of things to keep track of where your dog actively is. So oftentimes, if the dog is in the wrong position, he can actually push bosses in a direction you don't want them to go, or he might not be anywhere near you when you're trying to make some space with this ability and get yourself out of a bad situation, and you usually have to call him over by sticking him on a nearby target and then activating it when he's at that location instead. That's sort of the downside of the ability. But we have other things the dog can do as well, and they are all over here on the left side of the tree. The first one is this Voltaic Mandibles Augment. Now, you saw this in the intro to this video. That was the reason that this Crusher couldn't attack me. So he's going to try to attack me. and the dog intervenes, and now he's electrocuted. Electrocution is a really rare effect in this game. It applies to these shock malls and stuff like that, but it causes enemies to take damage over time and be unable to act. So I could just spawn this guy in and do him up like this, and it has the same effect, but you can have the dog do that for free without spending that whole long animation, plus the damage he does when he bounces off the enemy. So that's a really, really powerful single target removal, and it obviously applies and allows him to finish off targets that he's pounced much more easily as well. This is one of the best talents for dog damage specifically, and yeah, it ends up doing like 80 damage per tick every time the crusher like jolts like that. Canine Morale is another very interesting target, or interesting talent here. This thing is purely a defensive talent. What it's going to do is it's going to give us some toughness damage reduction, and it's going to give us some regeneration for a few seconds after we kill a target. So look at this target here. He's going to break my toughness. I'm going to send the dog to deal with him, and that target is now killed, and so you can see here, look at that regeneration that I have right now. Barely any regeneration. When the dog is near me, obviously it goes up, but that small amount of regeneration, that was the regenerative effect of this. The much more important part of this talent is the toughness damage reduction it offers. 20% toughness damage reduction is one of the largest single sources of toughness damage reduction in the game, and you almost always will have this buff because the dog is very infrequently not going to be killing a target every 5 seconds. Like, that's sort of his whole thing, is he's like killing a target like every 3 to 4 seconds, pouncing them and removing them. So you'll have this buff up a lot, which means you just got this trickle of toughness, and it applies to you and allies in Coherency. So this is a really nice buff for the whole team to have. Speaking of the whole team, part of the squad. Part of the squad is the aura specific for dog users. It makes the Cyber-Mastiff count as part of the squad, and this is for the purposes of Coherency. Now, Coherency is a very, very slow regenerative effect because it is linear. It does not scale with increased toughness sizes, so if you take a bunch of toughness increasing curios, it's going to look like you're getting less. You're still getting the same numerical amount of toughness per second, but since enemy damage reduction is for melee is calculated by a percentage of your toughness, that's not really that effective usually. However, you get some additional stuff out of this. You do get an additional 7.5% toughness damage reduction for just, having this. So it's honestly not that bad, even though it's half as effective as the Zealot's talent of the same name. They are two separate talents that can overlap, or of the same name, I say, of the same effect. He has a 15% toughness damage reduction aura called Benediction, but this one can stack on top of that, and that honestly makes it not too bad. The other part of this, the Cyber-Mastiff counting towards Coherency, actually does stack with other Cyber-Mastiffs, so you can have up to 8 in Coherency on a team if you have 4 dog using cops on your team at the same time, which I imagine will be pretty much every single game for the next month or so. So that'll be a very interesting thing to see if that actually scales in any way. The amount of regeneration you get is very, very slow, on the order of 2 toughness per second, as I've tested it, and it's not exactly as potent as Loner is on the Zealot class, because the Zealot class has access to talents in the tree that can boost his toughness regen, his base toughness regen, his Coherency regen, and then he can scale it further with curios. So if you're really interested in playing a solo run sort of build with this, you might take this talent and then put Coherency regeneration curios on. That could help boost it to a reasonable rate. Down here we've got the focus for the dogs. So you can choose to either leave the dog unfocused by taking none of these nodes, to remove the dog, which we will not be doing today because today we love our dogs, and we have 2 choices for where to prioritize the dog. Now we have Unleash Brutality on the left here. Unleash Brutality makes the dog focus on elite and specialist enemies and deal 25% additional damage to them. On the right, we have it prioritize instead ranged enemies. This means gunners and scab shooters. who are generally pretty annoying and hard to get to a lot of times, he'll stay usually farther away from you to accomplish this goal, and he's going to deal an additional 50% damage to them, which it makes him pretty much instantly kill these targets. So he's going to be killing a lot of gunners when he's doing this one. However, in my personal opinion, I find that Unleash Brutality is the absolute choice here, because Unleash Brutality focuses on those high priority targets that are going to be the most dangerous for the team, and there's a ton of talents in the tree, such as No Escape up here, that offer benefits when you kill elites or specialists. So his kills, since his kills count as your kills, you're going to be claiming those benefits all the time thanks to his efforts here, and he's going to be only focusing on killing those targets that'll give you rewards. Down here, we've got two different abilities. Both Break the Line and Castigator Stance offer buffs for dog damage. Now, Castigator Stance offers Bloodlust, which gives you 75% additional damage on the dog for the duration of Castigator Stance, which is 10 seconds. You can activate it every 45 seconds. So that's not the best uptime in the world when compared to Kill Order, which gives you 12 seconds of 50% additional damage. And this is pretty much constantly up, because if you have cooldown reduction curios and you're getting good charges on lots of targets, then you can lower your cooldown to 12 seconds. So you have almost 100% uptime or 100% uptime with Kill Order here versus like 25% uptime with Bloodlust. So this is definitely the premier ability if you want to go for a dog focus build like this. And speaking of dog focus builds, all of the dog related talents for the keystones are in this bottom left portion of the tree. Up here we have target selection. Target selection, when you kill a pounced elite or specialist, you, as the player, get 15% damage versus elites and specialists, not the dog. But his kills on those targets, pouncing them and then finishing them off, does activate this buff. So just a constant buff, you'll have 15% damage versus elites and specialists. Pretty nice, honestly. Down here is Serrated Maul. This is less nice. It applies 6 stacks of brittleness on attack. This can make it a little bit easier for the dog to kill crushers and maulers and the like, but generally he doesn't have too much trouble with anything that's not a crusher. And brittleness has a significantly reduced effect on unarmored enemies, so it's not going to be adding much extra damage on anything else at all, like on the scale of single-digit percentages. I think it's better to save the point and go elsewhere. And down here is Execution Order. This is the single largest buff you can do to your dog's damage, and the strongest keystone in the game for the Arbites, in my opinion. What this does is it's going to periodically mark elites, specialists, and bosses for Mercy Sanction. When your dog attacks these targets, he gets an additional 150% Cyber-Mastiff damage. So his damage is multiplied by 2.5, which is crazy. This means that in the case of like this sniper here, when this sniper gets attacked, the second he gets attacked, the dog gets the damage buff. It's not when he finishes him off, it's when he attacks him. So right now is the dog activates the buff, and that allows him to boost his damage to very, very high levels and finish him off pretty dang quickly. You can see here, not too bad. I think that target was not marked. Oh yeah, there we go. That target's marked. Oh yeah, you can see the difference there when he has the 150% damage. That first chunk was massive comparatively. So yeah, having the marked targets be killed makes him finish them off way, way, way faster. And yeah, that's the power of this talent. He cuts through those guys like butter when he has that buff active. And because this is every time he kills one of these marked targets, and these marked targets by nature are elites and specialists, this talent, Unleash Brutality, is a perfect pairing for it, because he will be seeking out those targets specifically to eliminate. And it seems, based on my observations, that he does actually prioritize highlighted targets from Execution Order as well automatically without your direction. Down here, we have the final dog-related node on the talent tree, which is not far behind. Every time the dog pounces, you, as a player, gain 10% movement speed and 10% damage. The dog is pouncing at least every 5 seconds, so this is nearly constant when you're in engagements. The dog can finish off a target in less than 2 seconds, as you just saw there, and then he'll find another target and pounce on him very, very quickly. Now, I mentioned previously that the dog's kills count towards your kills, so that is very obvious on a talent like this right here, Imposing Force. When the dog claims a kill on Elite or Specialist, you get that buff of 25% damage resistance, but it also applies to other effects as well, as long as the terms of the effect are generalized. What I mean by that is a talent like this, 3% damage on successful attack, stacks 5 times, lasts 5 seconds. This triggers on dog attacks as well as it actually triggers on the electric shocks of voltaic mandibles. So every time that electric shock comes out, as you saw in that clip in the beginning with the crusher, if you rewind that and watch, the buff is being refreshed every time he gets shocked by the electricity, which I don't know if it's intended, but it's how it works. Same thing applies to Hold the Line. When the dog staggers an enemy, it grants you those stacks. If it staggers a large target, a non-human sized target, then you get all 5 stacks immediately and stack up to the 3% or the 15% damage resistance against melee. So the dog is excellent at getting these sort of buffs off the ground. Note that he doesn't apply things like Target the Weak. Enemy staggered by your melee attacks is how this one reads, and the dog does not, in fact, trigger your melee attack buffs. But the rest of the talents like these definitely do impact the dog's effects, and one other really great reason to have the dog on your side. That's everything for the talents, so let's go on and showcase some of his ability in some gameplay, and I'll also demonstrate a few things that he can do that are very, very useful and make the dog an excellent boy. Now let's take a look at some things that the dog can rescue you from. The dog is really, really cool at being able to foil lots of specialist plans for you. For the case of trappers, that's really his only thing that he can't 100% stop. Those trappers, he'll chase them down and kill them, and it's especially useful when they do run away. But the dog is an amazing tool at enemies like the bulwark here, who can be really, really obnoxious to get past their shield. You can just, have him pounce, and he'll do his whole thing just by himself. You can also have him intercept another dog. So a dog like this, he'll knock them off of you once you're already pounced. In a normal game situation and not in the Psychanium, he'll drop everything that he's doing and come to your aid to knock a dog off of you, which can save your life. But you have to be certain that you're not surrounded by a bunch of enemies that are going to kick you to death while you're getting up. He can also do the same thing with mutants. Mutants, he'll a lot of times see them when they are rushing in and try to intercept. If he doesn't get them in time, though, he'll catch them right after the fact and knock you free before you get hit. And he has frequent enough attacks that the mutant can never get another charge off. He doesn't even get to start the charge. And if you can ping him, or he notices before the mutant gets to you, he'll completely interrupt the mutant's attack. One annoying thing the dog can do, sometimes the dog can be a little bit of a I won't say he's a bad boy, but I'll say he's a mischievous boy because he can actually push bursters into you, which can be kind of scary at times. If he gets them from behind, he can push them towards you, and that can lead to a bad situation. However, he won't detonate them. He just pushes them around and does very, very small amounts of damage to them, which I think is a good design. He doesn't kill them nearly as fast as other enemies get killed by his attacks. Let's showcase my final favorite thing here. Let me make sure I don't scroll past it. There it is, the Chaos Spawn. So the Chaos Spawn is going to grab me, and the dog will latch onto him, and the Chaos Spawn wants to hit the dog so bad, but he can't because it's on his back. But as long as you have a dog at your side, you actually can't be eaten by the Chaos Spawn. He'll just hold on to you and grab you. There it is. So he'll make a swing at the dog here because the dog is close enough nearby. I love those yells. And for whatever reason, he flings around like that. I have no idea if that's intentional or not. So if Fat Shark is watching this, please leave that in the game because I love getting spun around in a circle by that dang thing. It's pretty fun, honestly. Anyway, that's all the things I want to showcase for the dog. Let's just do a quick gameplay clip here and showcase how useful the dog can be when you are surrounded by enemies and you need a buddy in your time of need.
I am curious. Regard!
Who gives a fuck? Rip. Rip everybody. And so that's everything I can think of to showcase about the dog and his use cases. He is just such a great asset to you as an Arbites and to the team. I think they absolutely knocked it out of the park with this guy. It's so fun to have a dog alongside you too. He's just such a fun little creature to watch him operate. A lot of times I'll just send him off and have him go chase down a sniper that's like 5 football fields away just to watch him do it. I could have shot the target myself, but it's fun just to watch him go hunt them down to the ends of the earth. And what a awesome part of this class that I can't wait for you guys to be able to try. I'll see you very soon for more videos. Make certain that you're subscribed so you can catch those and, you know, bring the alert whatever icon. And of course, I'll see you on the 23rd so we can all play with our dogs together. We can have a puppy play date. All right, I'll see you then. Mr. Yeah, bye.